everyone, I'm Kiara Dunstan. I work for GBCA in the marketing department as the marketing communications assistant, and I'm here with Lynn Algrant. Can you please introduce yourself, Lynn?
Hi everyone, I'm Lynn Algrant. I'm the Vice President of Planning, Development, and Communications.
Perfect. And we're here is our Census mini-series, part 2, where we're going to be talking about reasons why every person in America should respond to the 2020 census. So we're just going to jump right into it. Lynn, can you talk a little bit about redistricting, how the census affects that, and why it's really important for us to get our responses in so that redistricting can be at its most effective?
Sure. So I'm going to start at the federal level and work our way down to the local level, if that's okay. At the federal level, every state gets 2 senators, and then it gets at least 1 member of the House of Representatives, 1 congressperson. But the number of representatives in the House of Representatives is determined for each state based on their census numbers. There are only 435 of them. And so if one state grows faster than another, a state can lose a congressperson and that seat goes to a different state. That's happened to New Jersey several times. And I want to just emphasize this for those of us up here in northern New Jersey, because the last time that we lost a congressional seat, that congressional seat was Congressman Rothman, who lived here in Bergen County. And when we lost that seat, Congressman Rothman and Congressman Bill Pascrell had to duke it out, right? And so Pascrell is now our representative in Congress for our area.
Right.
It's important to understand that northern New Jersey, right, if we think about Hudson, Passaic, and Bergen counties, we're probably somewhere in the neighborhood of almost 3 million people. So we are larger than 6 states in the union. And those states all have a congressperson just for them. And we barely have a congressperson for all of us. And so being counted is really important. Every man, woman, and child, and I do want to pay special attention to children. Yes. Young children under 5 are one of the hardest to count communities. We think sometimes maybe when adults are filling out the form, they think that the little ones and the babies aren't important. But that baby is going to be 10 years old by the time we do the census the next time, and they'll already be going to school, and they'll already be eating snacks and milk at school. So we want to make sure that those numbers are accurate.
Right. Like you said, the census is taken every 10 years. So it's important because that funding, that redistricting, that representation is all part of that 10-year span. So whether your child is 5 right now or not, it's going to affect your child in the long run, and even now still too, because we have resources that we need and all of that stuff. So can we talk a little bit about funding, Lynn?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so every year the federal government distributes about $657 billion to the various states and communities based on census data. And so this can be everything from Medicare and Medicaid, right? Medicare for our senior citizens, Medicaid for low-income folks for their health care. It can be things like food stamps and WIC, the Women and Infant Children's Program. It affects the programs that we run at Greater Bergen, LIHEAP, which helps to provide for people's heating bills if they can't afford them. And the ESL classes and citizenship classes that we teach. And so when we think about many of the things that we think of as government funded, right, or federal government assistance to fund, roads, sewer systems, planning for schools, planning for hospitals, all of that research is based on census data. And so for New Jersey, we get about $37 billion from the state based on our numbers, but we're pretty certain that New Jersey was undercounted in the last census. And so we're really making a big push to make sure that we can get everybody counted this year.
Right.
And the hard to count communities in Bergen County include Garfield, Cliffside Park, Englewood, Hackensack, certain neighborhoods there. Here's the thing. We knew that the 2020 census was going to be difficult and extremely important before the pandemic, right? We knew that our immigrant brothers and sisters have been systematically frightened about completing the census, and that was by design to try and reduce their numbers.
Right.
We know that African Americans have historically been undercounted. And so we know that people who rent rather than own their homes are historically undercounted. We know that little children are historically undercounted. So the 2020 census was going to be really important and a big push even before the pandemic. Now, with the pandemic, many of the things that we had planned, sort of get out the census activities, like get out the vote activities, we weren't able to do because in the spring, which is the really heavy push for census time, right? Census day was April 1st. We were locked in, right?
Yep.
And locked down and locked up. And so now we've got to try and really get the word out to people that it is really important. This is the first time that the census could be done through the internet. You can do it on your phone, you can do it from a computer or a tablet, and it is very easy. There is no citizenship question. The Trump administration lost that battle, but unfortunately, they kind of won the war because they'd already frightened people, and a lot of people still think that there is a citizenship question and that they might not be safe if they complete the census. It's important to know that you are safe. The way the census works is information goes in and data and statistics come out. And so you put your name and your age and your race on the census form, but what comes out is a household of 4, right? An African American household of 4, and never by your address or anything like that. So this was going to be a tough year anyway.
Right.
And then we had the pandemic, and we were like, oh my goodness gracious. A number of community groups and civic organizations and the census itself tried to get an extension all the way to December 31st for getting the count in, and but they failed. And the Trump administration now is saying that the count will be closed on September 30th. And so we have 6 weeks. We have 6 weeks from now until when they're going to stop counting. They are going to stop sending census takers out there. I think they're going to shut down the online portal even. So we've really got to get, in the next 6 weeks, we really want to get people to understand that it's okay to do it, it's safe, it's fast, and it's extremely, extremely important. We count, and our counting matters, and it's extremely important. And so we're really going to try to do this.
Right.
Ourselves.
Right. So, can you talk a little bit about the census and what to expect as in terms of like language? I know that it's multilingual. There's different ways that you can respond, different languages you can respond in, and then there are also different language guides that you can look at in order to kind of help you through the process if you do not speak English and do not read and comprehend in English.
Right. So you can, on the website, you can fill out the census in, I think it's 13 different languages. And then there are an additional, there are 23 languages where you can get the instructions in those languages, and the questions all line up. You can also, if you're not so computer savvy, you can also answer the census questions by calling a toll-free number in a whole variety of languages, and someone will be on the phone to take your census information from you over the phone. Do not, if somebody calls you, don't answer their questions, because that may not be a real census person, but you can call them and give your information over the phone. Yes, in multiple languages.
Okay, and we'll put that number at the end of this video too for anybody who needs to call, or and we'll also have the website there too for you. Can we talk a little bit about how even in this era right now, the COVID era, where things are pretty nasty? Can we talk about how the census count determines the number of first responders in communities and hospital beds and things of that nature?
Sure. Just about anything that needs to be planned and kind of thought about for the right number of resources, the right number of classrooms that we need for children. I will tell you, so I am Vice President of Planning, Development, and Communications. The planning part of my job, I go to the census database probably 4 or 5 times a week. You know, what's the population in Garfield? How many little kids are there? How many poor people are in Garfield? You know, so census data, we use it at GBCA all the time for the grants that we write and the programs that we plan, but so do municipalities, so does county government, so do states. I believe that the COVID CARES money that has come into our community to help with hospitals and to help with small business owners, right, who had to shut down, all of those dollars that have flowed to New Jersey have flowed to New Jersey based on census numbers.
Right.
So even some states that had very few COVID cases at first, they still got COVID CARES money based on their population, the same way we got COVID CARES money based on our population, even though we were hit early and very, very hard. So again, just about anything you can think of. And I know sometimes we don't always know what government does for us, but just about anything that you can think of, from the roads you drive on, to the schools your children participate in, to the senior center in your community that provides meals to senior citizens in the area, to hospital beds and nursing home beds. All of those things in the community are usually planned based on census data. And it's just so important.
Right. Okay, thank you so much, Lynn, for all of that information. That was really, really great information. That will conclude our mini-series part 2. Make sure to look out for the series part 3, and we're going to talk a little bit about how quick and safe and easy it is for you to respond to the 2020 census.
Thanks, Kiara.